to amplify your reach, maximise your exposure. So we're going to touch on a few things over the next hour or so, just kind of helping you guys to push yourselves forward, whether you're into radio or into music. And firstly, thank you for coming. It means a lot that you've taken time out. So a bit about me. This year's my 30th professional year. I say professional because I actually started in pirate radio in 94, I think it was, here on Fresh FM, which was a fantastic experience. Since then, moved on to Choice FM in Birmingham in 1995 to 1998. Then hosted Drive Time on Galaxy in Birmingham, 98 to 2000. Then moved to London to do the evening show on Capital Radio, which was a complete adventure. One of the greatest and craziest experiences of my life. We had just under 1 million listeners a week at that point too as well, which was great. Then in 2007, moved over to Dubai to take over the first national English-speaking music radio station there for Gov News Broadcasting, for Radio 1 and Radio 2. Then came back in 2019, worked for Magic Soul and Magic Radio, hosting their main drive time, and now currently on Magic Soul and Jazz FM. So radio for me pretty much has been the lifeline of everything that I've done, which looking back now is, I guess, is quite impressive, but radio now is a completely different beast than what it was back then, and we'll talk a little bit more about that and how you get into it and the pitfalls of that. In terms of music, through radio, I played a part in the careers of Beverly Knight, Craig David, Mariah Carey, Kanye West, Destiny's Child, and Leah, one of my favourites. Lauryn Hill was one of the first people in the world to play the Justin Timberlake album, which was a great pleasure as well. And Shakira. People laugh at that one, but I went to Los Angeles on holiday to see my cousins, and don't know how, but ended up in Sony Records and brought that back to the UK. And of course, you know what happened with her, so was involved in that in the early days. My dear friend Amy Winehouse, Rihanna, 3 Mobile Award nominations, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. One of the first DJs outside of London to do so. As an independent producer, I also make music too. Electronic soul and soulful house on my soulful session band, and was signed by the legendary Tony Humphries. So that went quite well. In 2012, was ranked amongst one of the top soulful house producers in the world, with a lot of my peers who I love and respect, Louis Vega, Kenny Doe, and Jazz and DJ Spence, to name but a few. So, how do you get your songs on radio is a question that I get asked quite a lot. And to be honest with you, it's quite a minefield. Are there any artists, the people that make records here? Okay. You as well, yeah? Okay. How about you guys? Are you guys in radio artist? You're a producer, right? Presenter, right? Okay, cool. So understanding radio, there are 3 types of radio. It's commercial radio, which, as the name suggests, they make their revenue through advertising. So it's not necessarily a music station as such. They do play music, but essentially they are there to create the biggest audience to be able to make revenue through their commercials. You then have publicly funded radio, which is your BBC stations, your 1Xtra, Radio 1, Radio 2, etc., which are funded by public money, taxpayers' money. And again, they're there to create the biggest audience. 1Xtra, of course, you'll be familiar with, being a black music station. And specialist radio, once upon a time, would have been Choice FM, Birmingham, and in London, and Kiss FM. But now you have radio that's morphed into various different mediums, such as Mixcloud, Twitter, Beatport, SoundCloud, etc. So radio, from its traditional sense, still exists, and it is still the biggest medium and ways to consume music. But radio, as its title, has really changed through the innovation of smartphones. So where do you start as a new artist to get your music played on the radio? Now, this is a very interesting one for you guys in particular, because it's a bit of a minefield, isn't it? So there is a secret weapon. And I'll tell you all about that secret weapon at the end. And I think most of you should already know what that is. But all will be revealed at the end. Radio really is the last step in the chain as an independent artist. I know that it's great to have your music played on the radio, but there's a whole chain of steps that an artist must go through in order to think about being considered for radio. So let's work backwards to see how you get there. And it's not pretty. It's not pretty, I'm afraid. So with Spotify at the moment being the main way for people to really get their tracks exposed at the moment, how many tracks per day do you think are added to all streaming services by independent artists? Have a guess. 100 per day? How many would you say?
Thousands.
120,000. That's by a past study from a company called Luminate, and that was as of 2023. The real number is probably more so around 60,000 or so, I would say. But that's how many get uploaded, maybe per year. So you're looking at maybe 12,000, 20,000 per day. So as an independent artist, going to a streaming service to get your track uploaded, it's quite a fight, right? So in that respect, the question then needs to be asked, who are you? Does that make sense? Because you're fighting with a lot of people at this stage, okay? So, are we thinking too big? Is going straight to Spotify the right choice for an independent artist? So is starting small and organically building your audience a better start? What do you think your chances are of being heard and recognised with everybody else sort of trying to fight for the same space too as well? So my advice to any independent artist, as a matter of fact, not even just independent artist, for yourself and the young man over there who's a DJ, your social media, I would start small and start to build your own audience. Because that way, you control pretty much everything. And you speak directly to your people as well. So if you think about the bigger picture of it being on Spotify or even on YouTube, yes, it is the place. And you've got this whole huge audience. But if people don't know who you are, then it's hard to engage with those people. It'd be easier to start with 3, and then 5, then next week have 10, then 20, and then all these people are directly engaging with you and your audience, rather than having 100 people maybe passing through and not quite understanding who you are. So my advice, whether that's music or for yourself as a DJ, always start small and then work bigger. Because if by the end of the year, if you get 3 people per week, per month, you'd have more genuine people who will engage with you as an artist, who will actually enjoy your product rather than people who are kind of fleeting. And the name of the game really is to get people who enjoy and love the product that you do. So that would be my advice. I know it's great, and I love Spotify and I love YouTube, but as an independent artist myself, it's easier and better to have a smaller audience who love what you do than have a lot of people that you have to chase, because it's a lot of work chasing people, as you know already, right, on socials. Okay? So this is where the journey really begins. 50% of all independent artists fail because of these reasons, or give up. And no one really talks about this. So I'm going to give you some behind the scenes sort of information on things that I've sort of learned along my journey. So as an artist, what do you do? What is your contribution to the music scene and to the music you're making? Now, these are 3 things that I think are crucial to doing this, because if, like my man over there, if you don't love this, it's going to be a very hard game. And it's the same thing with the guys with the cameras. They love what they do. There is that hunger, there's that almost geeky passion that they have for cameras, for lenses, for aperture, for everything that goes with that, with like I said, with the creative part of it. So these are 3 things that I want you to really, before you start what you do each day, Ask yourself these questions, because it will clear a path for you to do what it is that you do. It suddenly becomes clearer. Once you have a path and a destination of where you want to go, the path laid in front of that becomes a lot clearer. And this is one thing that I learned a lot later, because I was just gung-ho, I wanted to do everything. So I tried everything, I did everything, and then you get to a point where you have so many things that it then becomes quite hard to choose. And if you strip them down into 3 elements, the whys, the whats, and the whens, you then find everything so much clearer to do. Now, this is one of the questions I've asked myself many, many a time. And I think in the modern day, and especially with your generation, is it the artistry talking, or is it the ego? Now, there's no wrong or right answer with this, because one actually fuels the other. You sort of have to have an ego to fuel the artistry, right? So it's not an incorrect thing to say that you have an ego, but it's how much the ego drives the artistry. You know, I always say, if you're an artist, do as you do as an artist. But when the ego starts to take over, then it's a problem. You live in a very digital world. You know, everything needs to be seen, everything's peacocking. So obviously you have to have an ego in order for you to participate in that world and fight with everybody else. But always lead with the artistry. The artistry will always win. It's going to have a fight with the ego. Every day it's going to have a fight with the ego. But always try to let the artistry lead first. There is a tendency for the newer generation not to look back. It's one of the things that I would really like to spend more time with the newer generation, because there is a very rich history that has been laid before. And I know we're classed as old and we don't know anything, and you don't go out and you're in bed at 9 o'clock at night, and you know, we're not considered cool anymore. But there is that thing of, I feel our generation did the same to a point, but I think our path was already laid out. I always say that I am the benefactor of the generation that came before me. I was successful by default, and I say this all the time, because my generation, and especially Leicester, late 70s, 80s, into the 90s, I don't know if anywhere in this world even existed outside of Leicester. I didn't need to go anywhere. Leicester was on fire. You have no idea. It was the most incredible place for artistry. And I think what helped and drove that was that there were many of us who were at the same age. So it was a constant battle of talent and a pool of talent to choose from. And there were lots more venues to go and to express ourselves. Can you imagine what Leicester was like at that point? And we could go out 5 nights a week, and we could go out at the weekend too as well. And then Fresh FM came, the radio came in the 90s. So if you kind of picture all of that, that's what Leicester was. Reality check. Hope you lot don't hate me by the time we leave, because I tend to be quite real in the way that we speak, because it's a very passionate thing, and I could quite easily stand up here and make this sugarcoated and lie to you, and then when you do hit a stumbling block, which we all do, we all fall, and it's how we get back up again. I don't want to leave here, you know, sugarcoating things. Is your music good enough? Are you good enough as a DJ? The reason why I ask this is because, again, we live in a very peacock sort of a atmosphere where everybody's showing off, and it's easy to talk, but you'll always eventually get found out if you're not good enough. And if you are, is there ways that you can improve? Improvement is always key to your artistry. Learning is always key to your artistry. I think those two things are vital You know, and if you stop losing the passion for either, then maybe it might be time to take a time out. And that's not a bad thing, because sometimes you just get to a point where you get fed up with it, and that's fine too. Everything is fine, especially in this artistic world. Everything is fine. If you don't want to take some time out, that's fine too. But again, it's another one of those harsh reality checks. Are you good enough? And that's where the ego and the artistry come in, right? There's the good devil and there's the bad devil. That's the artistry and the ego. It's finding the balance between those two. But I think on any good day, I think it's a question that you should ask yourself. Again, it's one of those things. It's like an affirmation almost, you know, a confirmation, check in with yourself. Not to cast doubts, because that could be turned into a way where you could give yourself doubts. Do you know what I mean? But just in terms, you know, take a step back from the seat, look at what's going on, and ask yourself, are you good enough? Because sometimes there's the flip side of that, and you could actually feel that you might be actually better. Just purely based on talent. And if your talents can back up what you're saying, listen, I was unstoppable when I was 19. You couldn't tell me nothing. Because I knew, gauged on the people that I was around, I knew I was good enough. Because if my man over there is doing it, then yeah, I must get peace too, right? So that was it. You know, so surround yourself with people who you think are the leaders in that area. And that's another thing as well. You know, it's easy for your friends to tell you how good you are. We'll come on to that too as well in a little while. But always try and be around the people who are walking the walk. I think that's really important to do that too as well. Your mum is the worst person to talk about what you do.
Yeah, take a picture.
No, please don't take a picture of that and send it to her. I don't want to get in trouble for that. And I'll tell you why, right? Your mum's going to love you no matter what, right? True?
Yeah.
You could come up with something that either is game-changing or needs flushing. And your mum's pretty much going to tell you that it's the greatest thing ever. And I say that with respect, right? Surround yourself with people who can provide you with genuine critique and mentoring on the industry or the genre that you're in. And I would choose that person who, you know, we've all got that auntie or uncle who you just cannot impress them. I call them the Shanias. You can't, they're just not impressed. You can't impress me much. You know what I mean? Find that person that cares about you, that understands what you do, but also will be genuinely honest with you. And I'll tell you why, right? Because if you can't take criticism or feedback from them, this industry will crush you. It's all good and well being protected in your bubble. And your 5 friends and everyone's in the room, the speakers are loud and everyone's jumping up and down and you're all saying how great this is, and then you go out into the real world and you meet some real people and then it falls apart. Get the criticism and the critique out of the way before you put your music or your artistry into the world by people who are actually doing that. So source mentors. If you need to find people, email people, you can email me. I'll leave my email at the end of it too as well. And we'll all stay connected after this. But I think it's important that we look for people who can offer genuine criticism and critique and mentoring. It's vital. Because again, we can all believe our own hype. In terms of meeting people, know who you're talking to. The amazing thing about social media at the moment is that we can all reach people pretty much. I remember 1992. Gosh, how old was I? Yeah, anyway. That's a long time ago. I had to book a flight to New York, to get to New York, and I had to then walk down 125th. I then had to go to the Rockefeller building to where Def Jam Profile Records was back at that time. And I sat in reception, and I kid you not, for 4 days straight, waiting for Funk Master Flex. From 9 o'clock in the morning until 5 o'clock in the afternoon, for 4 days straight. Then on the Friday, I went back, and Flex walks in at midday. And he walks over to me and he shakes my hand and he says, "You've been here every single day?" And I said, "Yep." He said, "I wasn't even in the country. Didn't even know." So that was the beginning of the relationship with myself and Flex. And then Masterclass then took me around a lot of the record companies, most of the A&Rs, and a lot of the artists at the time too as well. Met Brand Nubian, met DJ Red Alert, went to the Tunnel in New York. They were the kind of things that we had to do back then. It wasn't like today. You guys could literally instantly meet people straight away through social media, which is a great thing. So take full advantage of that, but also please research the people that you're contacting. Because of that new connection now, we now get a lot of people getting in contact with us every single day. So if you want to get in contact, for example, locally with, say for example, BBC Introducing, which is vitally important for you guys, and for any new artist who's looking to get their music played locally, know who the producers are. Research who these people are. Before you get in contact with them, know who they are. It's just common courtesy. And a lot of people don't. They just go, "Here's my new track. I think you should play this. I think you should do that." So we used to call it manners. We used to call it manners back in the 90s, you know, but it seems to have got lost because there is that instant contact with people. And it's now social media. That whole personal angle has lost. Trust me, you will jump 5 spaces in the queue if you approach things differently. It's a great way to meet people, make a personal connection, because if I meet you personally, imagine being in a room, there's 400 people. If I don't get introduced to you and I don't know your name, chances are I'm going to walk off and I'm going to remember your face, but I'm not going to remember your name, right? So again, it's that personal connection that you must. And this goes on to, you know, I get hundreds of emails every day because of the stations that I'm on. And they are awful. They are terrible. I need you to stand out. When you send your emails, be polite. Make me excited when I see your name in the inbox. Give me a reason to want to open your email or to interact with you. The music's only 50% of it. The rest of it is your personality and how you conduct yourself. And also remember, just because I might not play your record, doesn't mean that I might not endorse you on social media too as well. So again, getting records on the radio or being on the radio itself, again, is only 50% of that. You know, an endorsement from me, I personally think, could be more important than actually playing the record. I'm going to play your record for 3.5 minutes on the radio, but a post from me on social media, that's there all day. And we can also look back on that too as well. Yeah, so please, it will serve you so well to get to know these people personally and forge a good relationship with them too as well. Do not overload me with information. Lord, have mercy. Similar to the previous, less is more. Let the music speak for itself. And if you can, before you send me your music, do some work, do half of the work on social media. If you can, try and get a teaser. Do some promotion for your own work before you try and send your music out to people that you want to get their attention. Because the first thing that we're going to do is to see if you've got a presence on social media. The same way you're trying to get in contact with us, we're doing exactly the same with you. Same for you too, DJ. Same for you. As a DJ, I want to see what you're doing. Clip of a DJ set. Clip of you practicing at home. You know, it doesn't need to be big. And this goes back to that first question that I asked, are we thinking too big? Because everybody wants the headline set. Everybody wants the big nightclubs. Everybody wants the big numbers so they can attract a bigger audience. But that comes later down the line. What are you doing now?
Building it.
It's about building it. It really is about building it. Build local audiences. Be present in the market, like I said before. If you're a rocker, go where a rocker goes. Do rock things. live the lifestyle, live the culture, meet the people, be around the people who can help you advance your career. Be in the area, walk the walk, talk the talk. Best marketing you can ever get from anybody is word of mouth. I've literally built my whole career on word of mouth. I've maybe been to one interview in my radio career. I got poached for Choice FM because of the noise I was making in the city. So they knew about me from Fresh FM. They got the job at Choice FM. Then when Choice got taken over by Galaxy, I was carried over from them. I then attracted the attention of the guys at Capital Radio in London for the noise I was making in Birmingham. And then from then got attracted to go over to Dubai. Word of mouth is the most powerful way for you to get your name in the industry. I don't think it works anybody. You can make as much noise as you like on social media. It might work differently now, but you've got to remember the industry. You know, you have the music business. They're two separate words, but they're spoken together, and they are two different things. You have the music, and you have the business. People in the business end, if they talk about you, you'll have a career forever, or for as long as you can take it. The music, I keep saying, it's only 50% of everything that you do. Learn the business. That means reading books on how record labels are started. For you guys, PRS, critical, crucial for your words. Your publishing is your pension. Learn about your PRS. Get every song you write written. Get your shares written. Who wrote what? Get that registered. For you, DJ, same thing. Get yourself a PRS account anyway, because the chances are you're probably going to start to learn to make music, right? Get yourself a PRS account. Got to get your PRS. You've got to learn how this business works, because if you don't, somebody else will. And this is why a lot of people struggle towards the later end of their careers, because they don't learn the business end of it. Be consistent with your output. Monthly, quarterly, have meaning with every single release. People love to feel a part of your journey. Trust me, they love it when they feel that they can be a part of who you are and what you're doing. I used to do these regular yearly EPs called Future Diva EPs, where I'd introduce 5 new singers every 6 months, every 6 to 8 months. I did 4 in total. And people used to love them because it was something that people could gravitate to. It then gives you a creative outlet for you to, maybe your mixes, you could do, I don't know, the top 10 jungle records that were influenced by ska originals. Do you know what I mean? It then gives you a reason to do something that's not just another 60-minute mix. God, another 60-minute mix?
Yeah.
How many of those do I have to listen to a day? There's 24 hours in a day, do you know what I mean? Give me a reason to want to listen to your mix.
Yeah. Mix up a bit.
Yeah. Think that, be creative with the music, because especially with black music, it runs deep. There are so many connections that could be made, a lot of, especially with your generation too. Do you know what I mean? I'd love to know what your generation sees in that music that's now 30 years old.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's got to be some fresh, new angles. It's all good and well to hear the tapes from all the pioneering DJs and replicate that. That's fine. That's great. But what are you doing with the music for your generation that's going to move not only the music forward that you love, but more importantly, move you forward? That's what it's all about. The music is your vehicle. The music will take you wherever you need to go, as long as you're clever with it. If you're going to sit back and be lazy, yeah, you're going to be one of the ones that sit back. You know? So try and be consistent with your music. Themes. Know the artists who are in your field. know the DJs who are in your field. Get to know them, collaborate with them, have a mix-off with the guys, have rap battles with the guys, sharpen your tools in a friendly environment. You know where you're at competitively. Whether it's at your house, whether you rent this building and you do a once a month freestyle thing where you get this speaker here, you have a rap battle, create friendly competition because it sharpens your tools. It then also puts you can also get a bit of a ranking order and then you know who's who. Because we used to do that, we used to have DJ battles at a place called Spectrum. We used to run a youth night down there. We'd have all the DJs, we'll all get up there and do like half an hour, 15 minutes, or play 3 on 3. And at the end of the night, you knew who the top dog was. You knew who you didn't need to worry about, and you knew where you stood. And you went home, and for that week, you practiced, because you weren't going to get beaten again, and you wanted to take that next guy down. But what he did ultimately did 2 things. One, for the people that came out, it gave those guys the best night ever. Because the quality that was coming from the stage to the crowd was up here. And it also made me understand what it was that I needed to put in to make myself better. So collaborate and compete are another 2 words that I'd say as well. It's a gruesome game. This is a lot to think about. Showcase your work and showcase your project. Again, going back to what I said before, in terms of social media, post you guys in the writing session. Just sit in front of a camera, you guys sketching, writing. You sometimes don't need to speak. Do you know what I mean? Showcase the steps that you go or you take to make your music. Because that could then inspire someone else to do that. DJ, showcase going through your records. Showcase the records that you have. Why these records are important to you. Again, it creates that connection between you and your audience. Social media is cold. Create some warmth between yourself and the person on the other side. That person will then join you for the journey, and then you have a fan, and then you have somebody who's going to support you and your product. They'll come out to your shows, they'll talk to everybody else. Again, it goes back to that thing of that personal endorsement. You cannot beat a personal endorsement. It's golden. You can't pay for that. And again, unless your mum's not in the industry, don't ask her about your music. Finally, be unique. There are so many people who look at your Katy Perry's, your Beyoncé's, your Stormzy's, your Dave's, your Gets, and rightly so. These guys are top of the tree. But they have mastered their artistry. They are at the top of the tree. That's theirs. Going back to what I asked before, who are you as an artist? If you knew the bumps and the roads that these guys had to take in order to get there, it's scary. All you'll see is the end result. You're not seeing the sleepless nights. You're not seeing the self-doubt. You're not seeing the no's. You're not seeing the second guessing. You're not seeing the tears. You're not seeing the cries. You're not seeing missing out on family and friends' birthdays. You're not seeing any of the sacrifices. You're seeing the gold. You're seeing the fruits of the labor. Don't waste time chasing waterfalls. It was a song by TLC, and it's the truth. Be unique. There is no need in being a second-rate somebody else when you could be a first-class you. That's the best advice I could give you. Every dog has its day. You've heard that phrase, right? You will have your time. Because what's cool today is not going to be cool tomorrow. Things change, and things change even quicker. At least in our generation, in our time, it was by a decade. With you guys, it's by a week. Do you know what I mean? So what are the chances then, if you're doing go-turning music this week, and that's what you like, somewhere down the line, the wheel's going to spin and it's going to land on goat-herding music, right? It's got to, it has to. Because some of the things that are in the mainstream now, Stormzy, growing on the UK charts. from our generation, you must be mad. And now it's the main British music at the moment, do you know what I mean? So never say never. Just stick to your craft. And now you have social media. So what makes that great now is that you can also now just close out all of the noise and go find these people who like go early music. And then you're in, and you've got your own community. So be unique. Be unique, find your crowd. Be authentically and unapologetically you. Don't let anybody take you off the track. No. Because they don't understand what you do. They don't understand who you are. They don't understand the passion like you displayed earlier, where that comes from. The passion of where you display. They don't know where that comes from. Don't ever let anybody take you off your path. Your purpose is your purpose. You're here, you're doing what you're doing because it's what you want to do. It's what you've been built to do. So be authentically you. Never follow. And it's hard not to. It's easy, isn't it, to follow and go, that person shouldn't be there, or why is that person there? I'm better than that person. Which is normal, and again, that's not an issue. It's only an issue when it starts to make you a bad person. That's the only time it really is. But never follow. It's easy to look at what somebody has, but you don't know the journey that they've taken to get there. So if ever that doubt creeps in, and you think, you want to kick off a little bit, just try and think about the journey that they've been through. You know, it's easy. I can look at some of my friends, some of my best friends are on two of the biggest stations in the country. You know, Trevor Nelson and Spoonie, both on Radio 2. You know, we're boys, you know, and I'm on Jazz FM, you know. And I could say, you know, I should be on Radio 2, but I love being on Jazz FM. It's a station that, because the music's different, do you know what I mean? I am first and foremost a music fan. I'm a DJ second. And within that, then comes the creativity within all of that. So for me, being at a station which is about the music, that's the difference between Radio 2 and Jazz FM. I'm not saying the Radio 2 is not about the music, because of course it is, 100%. But in terms of specialist music, for me, it's Jazz FM all day. You know, it could be easy for me to compete with any other DJ, but I am the happiest I've ever been being at a small station. I've been on national stations for the last 20 years. I've had shows that have had millions of listeners. I've had that. So I can, hand on heart, tell you, it's about what your heart and what your passion needs, not about what your ego needs. Because you'll get to my age and you'll go, yeah, I get it now. When I was 19, it was like, yeah, I want all of it. I want all of it. I'm not going to sleep for a week. I'm going to do all of it. But you've got to feed that passion. If you feed the passion, the money will come. If you're the best jungle DJ in Leicester, trust me, Nottingham will come calling. Derby will come calling. Next thing you know, you're in Sheffield. Next thing you know, a man in Sheffield's going to say, you know what, you need to go down to London. And it's just going to work. You're not going to move in this game if you don't have talent. If you don't have talent, you don't have passion, it's not going to work. But at the same time, you need to be different, because it feels like a lot of things are becoming very similar. People are playing it safe, because my man's doing this, I'm going to kind of do this too, which means that you're sharing an equal space. So now you've got to compete with someone for an even smaller space, when you could maybe create your own space, maybe do your own thing and be unique. Anybody heard of Cleo Sol? Cleo Sol, she's a singer, right? She's not mainstream, right? You don't hear her records on the radio much, apart from on Jazz FM, of course. You know, she's not part of the mainstream, but she's in the States at the moment, on tour, 5 nights, sold out. There are people who just create great products and nobody knows about them. You don't need to be in the spotlight all the time to be seen. You guys have this. You are connected to the world. Find your communities. Find the tribe. Find your people. Find the groups. They are there. You have everything. You could speak a different language by the end of next week with this. You know, I think that you guys are kind of overloaded with options. And I guess because you have everything, maybe there's not the desire to want to indulge in these things. Imagine if we had the internet when we were kids. We had to send letters. And lick stamps to meet people. Catch buses, trains, like I said, get flights to go to New York. I think the need that we had is maybe why we're still doing this 30, 40 years on. Because now we've embraced the technology and it makes life for us a lot easier. But I think you guys are slightly overwhelmed with it. Because what do? You have Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, yeah. How do you do it? Narrow it down, find the best 2 platforms, use 2 platforms. You don't need 7. You just don't. I do feel for your generation having to spend so much time on these websites creating content and having to compete on another level once you get onto social media, because I find some of it's sort of contrived. It's not really real, and I might be sounding like an old man, but trust me, you're going to be old too one day, and you're going to be old sooner than you know it. You know, don't get caught up in this old thing, because the reality is that I will still outwork any young person on this planet 24 hours a day. So it's not about the age, it's about how much you want to do this. Do you know what I mean? And I think our generation can learn so much from your generation, your passion, your tenacity, the heritage and the history that you have from our generation, the fire that you guys have. It's so much more than ours. I always say that your generation is actually better than ours, but the only thing that I don't see, because you have everything, it doesn't draw the hunger for it. Does that make sense? Because you have it. Because it's there. Instagram. TikTok. Do you know what I mean? You've got so many choices, you're almost overwhelmed with options that it almost creates a certain level of confusion. Strip everything back. Keep it simple. Master your 2 things. Master your Instagram and your YouTube. Cool. Master your Instagram and your TikTok. Cool. Because then people will find you. It's that thing if you've got to draw people in. Because if you're going to go out and go, hi, I'm blah, 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 you turn around and then there are 50 million other people doing the same thing as well. Give people a reason to attract and gravitate towards you. And again, that goes back to the artistry. Once your artistry is cool, people will find you. Same way with Cleo's song. She's absolutely killing it at the moment, and she's not in the mainstream periphery. Her music is feminine, it's beautiful. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Sade. I would say she's the second coming of Sade, but with extra. She's come with extra. And you know that sound was very big in the States. And it's a very unique and it's a sound that only us British can carry off as well. And again, be British. You're born here. Your heritage is here. We have a phenomenal history here of cultures, and especially in Leicester. Oh my God. There's nowhere else in the country that has a mix of culture like Leicester. Do you understand that? You understand you are probably in the most unique place in the world. Nowhere has a culture like Leicester. Nowhere. I'm telling you that now. Sheffield doesn't, Nottingham doesn't, Birmingham doesn't. They're all heavy in one or the other demographic. Our demographic in Leicester is music. It's not about a dominant culture, because the black culture is the smallest in the city. But yet it's the most dominant in terms of its influence, in terms of the culture, right? And then you have the Golden Mile, you have the legendary Melton Road. I went to school with mainly Asian kids. Our mix of people in Leicester is the best. Get out into the city. Go and meet other people. Go and have dinner at other people's houses. Listen to their music. Listen to what drives them. Get involved, and then bring a bit of that back to your music. I mean, culture is important. It's also a big part of why Leicester is so successful. You make art. We are all artists, and it's easy to think, oh, I'm not an artist. It's too much of a big word. There's beauty in what you do, and it's your job to bring that beauty out of the work that you do and make it beautiful. Forget the technicals, forget the rappers, you make art. And if you start looking at what you do as art, you'll then start to look at what you do very differently. It's not just music, it's art. It's not just film, it's art. It's not just producing, it's art. You mentioned it earlier, it fuels your creativity, right? It's art. You make art. Don't look at it as making music or playing music. There is, when you're in front of a crowd, you're a conductor. You understand that? Your stick is the turntables. Or now the USB stick. You're a conductor.
Yeah.
You're a operatic singer. Just in a different rapper. You make art. I cannot stress enough, be consistent. You have to, whether you like it or not, whether you're tired, whether you don't want to, whether you're fed up, whether you think you're second guessing yourself, be consistent. Post something once or twice a week, but make it good. Have a reason why you want to post it. You know what I mean? Like I said, even though it's just going through your records, or just queuing up a few things, do that. You guys, writing session, little freestyle rap. Do you know what I mean? Freestyle Fridays, little 20-second thing on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Do you know what I mean? Consistent, draw people in. Because it's a way of getting your message out and being seen as well. I mentioned it earlier, your time will come. With consistency, with artistry, the passion, your time will come. I'm telling you, well, I sounded almost religious then, didn't I? It will, because it has to. Things change. Like I said, what's hot today, it's not going to be hot tomorrow, and the week after. And then it's going to come round again, and then it's going to be hot. So you chances are throughout your lifetime, if you only do one thing consistently throughout your whole career, the chances are you're going to be successful twice. But it's about that. It's about timing and consistency. They say luck. What is that? That's preparation meeting opportunity. There's no such thing as luck. When you break it down, you were ready when that opportunity came. Is that luck? Nah, that's being ready. Be battle ready every day. So, going back to the question that we started with, how do I get my songs on the radio? And you remember that secret weapon I was talking about, right? It's right in front of your face. It's Radio 2 Funky. Do you guys know that we are the only city outside of London that has its own community radio station? Are you kidding me? I cannot stress, and again, this goes back to the lack of stuff. If you knew how hard it was to get a community license for a city to have its own radio station, these things are, they're like hen's teeth. You guys are riding on a unicorn. I guess for me, because radio's always been my thing, do you know what I mean? I know how hard it is to get a license for a radio station. And you guys have one in your own city, and you guys aren't outside this thing trying to kick off the doors to get in? It's insane to me. It's insane that you guys don't have your EP, or you're making an EP knowing you know the DJs in the city, you're from the city. and you're not getting your things played on the radio station, but you're looking at Spotify, and you're looking at YouTube, and you're looking for TikTok, when you have a radio station in the city. It blows my mind. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying from before, because you guys have everything, there's almost like it doesn't have a value. It's insane to me how we don't have more Leicester artists queuing up outside that station. Why would you want to go to KISS? Why would you want to go to Choice? Why would you want to go to BBC Introducing? And that's not a slight on them. We have our own cultural radio station. Guys, I need you to start to think you have it here, the end of the line. The hardest part for any artist or DJ is getting on the radio. And you have a community radio station in this city. It's bonkers to me how you guys are not using it properly. It's insane. So that's how you get your music on the radio. You learn who the guys are on the radio station. You as a DJ, do you understand the importance and the role that you could play in shaping the future of this city in the next 30 years? I look at you as me when I first started, because I started on Fresh FM at a Friday night show, 2 hours. Did I know it was going to go on to lead to then being a professional DJ, to then doing all the other stuff, to speaking to all the biggest artists in the world, having over 1 million listeners a week? It's, and I guess maybe that's because maybe nobody's told you that. You're potentially one of the most powerful people in this city. If you play this right. As a DJ, on a radio station, being able to play unrestricted the music that you love and being the leader of a genre. Where are you going to get that? Where's that going to happen? Did you see what I'm saying? Did you see the power that you potentially have at this moment being a DJ on a radio station like Too Funky? Because you're not going to get that anywhere else. You go and work. What I do is a trade, essentially, because I'm a broadcaster now. You know, I'm not a DJ and I DJ separately, but radio is a trade, it's a skill. It's the other end of where you are. And I know the power of that because I know where it's taken me. But right now, where you are, at this age, at this point of where you are in the city, you pretty much got the keys to the Lamborghini. It's huge what you guys potentially could do if you all invest in this radio station. It's a community radio station. Why are you guys not getting involved in a community station? Yet you want to go and jig up yourself and dance for TikTok, but you're not doing nothing for the local station that can actually contribute to the city and create new scenes and create new genres and keep the clubs open. Do you know what I mean? People are talking about, oh, all the clubs are closing. Yeah, because you lot are sitting at home. You're not going out anywhere. And I get it, it's a new generation. But now you have a radio station that's right on your doorstep. You've got no excuses not to become local superstars. You can be local superstars. And then from then, that's when the pebble in the ocean drops and that ripple starts to move out. It moves out to Derby, to Nottingham, to Sheffield, to London, to Milton Keynes, to Northampton, to London, to Europe. And trust me, it can all happen by having your base here. You don't need to go anywhere. It baffles me. It baffles me. I need you guys to get involved and anybody else who's an artist to get themselves a spot on that station. Because that is bigger than your YouTubes, it's bigger than your TikToks. being a local hero in your hometown is bigger than being at this stage, because you don't need it. You don't need to be worldwide. If you become famous tomorrow, none of you are ready. You can succeed, you can fall, you can rise again in your hometown, make as many mistakes as you like, and the experience that you get by doing it in front of your peers and the people that you grow with is far bigger than dealing with some of these sharks in the industry who are going to take you, use you, and then throw you away and not become important. The most important thing is you contributing to the scene and the music that you love. And I can tell you that from my journey. I've reached some decent heights. But at the end, one of the few things that I do miss, I miss my hometown. I miss being around my friends. I miss the smallness. I miss the intimacy. I miss contributing. Because when all's said and done, it's where you're from, isn't it? It's where you're from. It's what you do in the city where you live. What did you add to the city? What did you add to the scene? What did you add whilst you were here? Because when you're gone, you're gone. There's no change in that. But what did you do whilst you were here? It's a lot to take in, and hopefully it's a different perspective, because it's always the glamour and the glitz, isn't it? But nobody tells you about the road on how to get there. So hopefully I've been of some service and some valuable insights, personal insights, because the business, that's a whole different game, and you'll need to learn the business on the side that you want to get into, and that's a whole different conversation. But one thing's for sure is that the passion, the consistency, the artistry and the talent doesn't change no matter what genre, what style, what culture, what race you are. Music is the universal language. It speaks to people even if you don't have a voice. It speaks loudly. I just hope that I've just made you look at this just a little bit differently, because I could sit here and I could talk glamour and glitz. And glamour and glitz is great, and that's what most people chase. But what are you leaving behind? What are you doing whilst you're here? Do you know what I mean? You can be successful and nobody ever know who you are. You can have a very comfortable life and be successful and nobody even know who you are. But it's the fame that people are chasing. And this is why you'll find that people come and they go. Every 2 or 3, once upon a time it was 5 or 7 years that an artist would have a good lifeline. You know, a good lifespan, 5 or 7 years. Now, 2 years maybe. Be lucky to get 3. Maybe an artist is outside of the elites of your Katy Perry's, your Beyoncé's, that have come, newcomers that have come and been consistent in the last 3 years. Very few spaces at the top, but nobody wants to start at the foundation level and build a new system. It's like a pyramid, isn't it? Here we all are at the bottom, and then the further up you get, the smaller it gets. There's lots of space and money down here. Lots of space and money down here. Thanks for coming, guys. I appreciate that. Yeah.